Jumping right back into the action here on the show, some more quarterback discussions back on the Patriots and deciding what's going to happen with their quarterback battle because Drake Maye made his full debut last Thursday against the Philadelphia Eagles, and after only playing one drive in his first game, we finally got a good look of what Drake Maye could provide as an eventual starter for the New England Patriots. He finished that game 6 of 11, 447 yards and a rushing touchdown. He didn't play, lights out by any means, but he was very efficient. He had some exciting plays, made some good throws as well, and he got himself a touchdown. So already pretty exciting coming off that first game, like I mentioned. A lot of people were left disappointed with not seeing him, so now getting to see him more, getting more playing time in this second preseason game, I think serves him very well. And it almost paid off everything that he has been doing in training camp and whatnot and things like that. More optimism now surrounds Drake Maye, and it could be pretty close. He could be pretty close to being their starting quarterback based on what everybody's saying, all the optimism, all the hype around Drake Maye just after his second preseason game. And now everyone's starting to bring up the question, could he or should he start right away for the New England Patriots? And Gerard Mayo brought up last week how after the game, how it's all about earning your role on his roster, on his team that he is now the head coach of. So he mentioned that if Drake Maye plays better overall in his estimation, in his evaluation of both quarterbacks, he will end up starting. That is how Gerard Mayo was approaching this. And initially at the start, I think I remember back to the spring where Gerard Mayo made a comment on this saying that at that point in time, in the spring, it was, Jacoby Brissett's job at that point. After the spring, he said if you were to ask him who the starting quarterback was, it was ultimately Jacoby Brissett at that time. But now, obviously, things change. Drake Maye's gotten a chance to go out there, play against NFL-level competition, and he surprised a lot of people. You heard about it in training camp. You were left impressed with it, with some of the reports and some of the optimism you heard in training camp, like I said. But now it's becoming a closer competition because you see it now on the field. And with this team being in a position of just uncertainty, I could say, very young team as well, you could almost approach it as you don't have anything to lose, so why not start Drake Maye at the end of the day out there as well? And Gerard Mayo sort of alluded to the fact that that could be a real possibility yesterday when he told the Greg Hill Show that 100% Drake Maye could be quarterback one against the Cincinnati Bengals in their Week 1 matchup. And he went on to explain a little bit more on how he's approaching, who the starting quarterback is going to be when he made this statement here, as you guys can see. He said, "We're still in training camp. We still have our preseason game against Washington. And once again, we don't have a starting quarterback right now. When it's time, we'll announce that, but he could absolutely be QB1, he meaning Drake Maye, so could Jacoby. We've got to see how it plays out." And you know what's very weird about this situation, eerily weird about how everything is breaking down? I had no idea until I read this somewhere else in an article that it's very similar to how things broke down with Mac Jones and Cam Newton back in 2021, because that was the year that Mac Jones was drafted. He wins the starting job over the veteran, over the bridge quarterback in Cam Newton at the time as a rookie. He goes 10-7 with that New England Patriots team. They make the playoffs. They lose in the first round, but then everything starts off well. Mac Jones is playing great in the preseason, gets everybody excited. He ends up winning the job, and then, the first season goes pretty well. You think you're going to build off of that going forward, but that wasn't the case. It was quite the opposite, actually, when you follow up that 10-7 rookie season by 2 straight losing seasons, and Mac Jones is ultimately traded this offseason to the Jacksonville Jaguars. And not to say that history is going to repeat itself exactly how it did back in 2021, but surely if you're Gerard Mayo, obviously being close to the team around that point, you also don't think it's going to happen exactly like it did back then, but you have to be certain this time around, and you have to try and avoid that as much as possible, knowing that you have a very eerily similar situation now with your two quarterbacks. Let's make sure that Drake Maye is put in a position, most of all, to go out there and not have his confidence be shot down right away by making some mistakes, playing against starting level, elite level NFL competition. And then it almost turns out like Tua. We just finished talking about Tua and how bad his rookie season went, being benched twice in that year. That's the last thing you want, to absolutely just shoot down the confidence of your rookie so early on. They have to make sure that Drake Maye is in that pole position. Funny enough, like Mike Tomlin says with Russell Wilson, to make sure that he is your starting quarterback and that you feel confident enough in him to lead you to good results. And not only that, but psychologically, mentally, knowing that Drake Maye is going to be able to take a bunch of hits, take a bunch of punches to his mouth right away in the NFL, and know that he's going to get back up, learn from it, not be rattled by it at all, and keep trudging forward in that sense. And especially with Jerod Mayo being a former player for this organization and spending time watching and learning as much as you can from the GOAT in Tom Brady, you have that player-like experience already, and how that situation with Tom and everything that was run in that Patriots organization, you got a taste of that. So not only am I expecting them to make the right decision here, but also having that expertise, that experience in your pocket, I think should serve them as, a service to approach the situation in the best way possible, because they've been in those locker rooms, they've been in those situations with a young quarterback. They know how it all could play out in a good way and also in a negative way. So I'm expecting them to make the right choice here, assuming that they're going to make the right choice based on everything that they've seen already through training camp, but also from a player side, as Jerod Mayo was also a former player. But to me, talking about who I would start and whether or not it's too early to start Drake Maye at this point in time, I would say it is a little bit too early. I would say, to me, I just always err on the side of caution with these situations, with rookie quarterbacks, with just, in my experience as a Steelers fan, seeing Justin Fields and Russell Wilson, I would side with starting the veteran just right off the bat, because you don't know, really, you could, as much as I just mentioned, the expertise, the experience that Jerod Mayo has as a former player, learning in those situations with this Patriots organization, you don't really 100% know how Drake Maye is going to react on a personal level, mentally, psychologically. You can be about 80% sure, 90% sure, maybe even at some times, but again, that other 10%, that other 20%, you don't really know. The only one that really knows that is Drake Maye. So for me, I would err on the side of caution, and still, we're only 2 preseason games in, pretty much only 1 for Drake Maye, having played only in this second one. We're still waiting for this 3rd preseason game. I'm sure we're going to see a lot of Drake Maye in that game as well. But I don't want to rush into this situation again, especially with the Patriots and where they are in their development, in their trajectory on getting back to being a competitive team. I just don't see this being a situation where the positives outweigh the negatives, because even if Drake Maye, kills it in his 3rd preseason game, he does win the starting job, he has Jacoby Brissett in his ear, learning from him and whatnot. At the end of the day, I think even with all of that potentially being the case, and if he does play decent in his first season in the NFL, I don't feel like it's going to be enough to take this Patriots team to really a contending level team in just their division, but forget about the conference and everything like that. I don't think it's going to be enough because of the surrounding pieces around the quarterback position. So to me, you have almost more to lose than more to gain in this situation with Drake Maye. Starting him right away, again, just doesn't move the needle too much for me and how I feel about the Patriots overall as a team. So to me, knowing that, approaching this season with that mindset that we're going to take a bunch of punches, we're going to be knocked down a lot, we're going to be kicked, we're going to be beaten down a lot in these games, potentially playing some of the better teams in the NFL, but all we have to do is just get up, learn from it, take our hits, lick our wounds, and then just move on into the next week and go on learning week by week and how we can get better that way. To me, starting Drake Maye, again, just doesn't move the needle too much for me. And Drake Maye is certainly turning heads already, not only in this preseason game, but in training camp. He's getting more reps with the starting offense, but I think right now the negatives outweigh the positives here because of the roster that the Patriots have and are compared to Mac Jones are already being similar in this situation. Back then, there was more veterans on the team, and this year with this Patriots team, there's a lot of young players, a lot of players that need to be led in the right direction. So to me, having a rookie quarterback in there, they still have a lot to learn, not only just on the field, but in terms of being leaders, being generals in that sense, and being an influence in the locker room to throw that all on Drake Maye right away and carry that pressure on and off the field isn't too beneficial for me. I'd rather have Jacoby Brissett, be that veteran in there, know what to do, know how to be a professional with this young team compared to that 2021 team where there was more veterans on it. I think it's better suited for a veteran to come in here, bring this team along, have them all learn together, along with Drake Maye, learn what it takes to be a leader on the field and off the field. And that way, maybe at some point you do end up starting Drake Maye, but at least it's not in a spot where right off the bat you're expected to get results, because that's what fans and everybody wants to see. With a young quarterback, there's excitement. You think you have a chance now, but then when you don't, you feel like you let a lot of people down, and that could really damage a rookie quarterback's psyche. So to me, I think it's a little too early. I would give it maybe at least 2 weeks or 3 weeks, and only if Jacoby Brissett is absolutely terrible, I would give it 2 to 3 weeks. But then if he's doing all right, you're sort of competitive, I would carry it as much as I can before I really commit to Drake Maye and just throw him out there, see how it goes. I think Jacoby right now is in a better situation for all those reasons that I mentioned. So that's how I feel about it. Let me know what you guys think on who should be the starting quarterback for the New England Patriots in 2024. But with that being said, we're going to go to another break. When we return, we're going to talk about the entire rookie quarterback class again from yesterday's show and how we could potentially see 4 rookie quarterbacks become the starters in week 1. They could be on the verge of making history with the amount of rookie quarterbacks starting. We're going to get into all of that and how this quarterback class too compares to that 2020 class that was very successful as well. So stick around. That is coming up right after the break. Don't go anywhere.